to this afternoon's webinar, Meet and Greet with the new Senior Director of the Leo T. McCarthy Center, Derick Brown. My name is John Bancevich and I'm from ITS. Please welcome the Reverend Paul Fitzgerald of the Society of Jesus and President of the University of San Francisco.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today as we welcome our new Senior Director of the Leo T. McCarthy Center for Public Service and the Common Good, Mr. Derick Brown. I have gotten to know Derick over the last several years since my arrival here at USF 6 years ago, running into him in the halls of City Hall, or most recently, perhaps some of you got to chat with him at the book launch of the Changemakers book at Ella Hill Hutch Community Center. Derick is a strong successor, a wonderful successor to previous directors of the Leo T. McCarthy Center, David Donahue, and before him, Corey Cook. And Derick is going to uphold and push forward this same tradition of touching the hearts and the minds of every one of our undergraduate students, as well as graduate students in a couple of different programs, awakening in them the vocation of public service. That was the heart and soul of Leo T. McCarthy's life here in the city and in Sacramento. Derick is a native San Franciscan, and it is a beautiful fact that he was born and raised in the Western Addition and now will lead USF's efforts, active since the mid-1960s, before even Derick was born, of engaging with our neighbors in the Western Addition for the education of our students, and as I say, awakening in them the vocation of public service. Derick comes to us with more than 20 years of experience leading neighborhood engagement strategies and addressing complex community issues. His experience, knowledge, and engagement with our community partners will directly benefit our students and further strengthen our relationships throughout the city, Sacramento, and in our DC program. I am sure that the late Leo Tarcisius McCarthy is smiling proudly down from his perch in heaven as he sees his legacy handed on to very capable hands. Derick was the director of the Office of Neighborhood Services for the late San Francisco Mayor Ed Lee, where he designed and managed the mayor's community relations strategies. More recently, cheat sheet is falling down. More recently, Derick worked with the San Francisco Police Department as Senior Community Engagement Advisor and was responsible for securing and strengthening partnerships with congressional budget offices, private companies, and universities, including this one, building relationships with community thought partners. Derick's skills, values, and passions align well with USF's Jesuit mission. Derick comes to us committed to continuing and enhancing the tradition of inspiring USF students who come to USF from across California, from across the nation, and from around the world to stand for and with others and to pursue successful careers with an eye towards public service. Derick himself is an excellent example of a commitment to public service and the common good. So not only with his knowledge and skills, but by the example of his life, he will lead our efforts. I am now therefore delighted to introduce to you Mr. Derick Brown, new Senior Director of the Leo T. McCarthy Center. Welcome, Derick.
Thank you, Father Paul. Really appreciate the incredible introduction. And to one and all, thank you so much for joining us in this very special meet and greet. For those of you that don't know me, Father Paul touched on, I was born and raised in San Francisco, primarily in the Western Addition. For myself, I graduated George Washington High, so go Eagles, so all my Eagles on the call. But unfortunately, a lot of my friends weren't that lucky to graduate high school. A lot of them are now dead in jail or wandering the streets aimlessly. But when I did graduate high school, I decided to work for the Boys and Girls Club of San Francisco. And so I ran programs there. And after running programs for several years with the Boys and Girls Club, I transitioned to juvenile probation department to counsel youth there. And in between both those roles, I enrolled in City College, did extremely well there, graduated valedictorian and commencement speaker. Then I transferred to UC Berkeley, which I crushed it as well, focused on public affairs And after I finished up Cal, I really wanted to take a deeper dive into politics and public affairs. So I applied for a fellowship program called Coro, and I was accepted. And with that opportunity, I was able to take a helicopter approach and sample various sectors, private side, nonprofit side, labor side, you name it. And then after that opportunity, I was fortunate enough to work for the Boys and Girls Club again as Director of Community Relations, and I worked on a development of the new Don Fisher Boys and Girls Club in the Western Addition. And as Father Paul touched on, after that, I was fortunate enough to go to work for the late Mayor Ed Lee in the mayor's office as senior advisor. And then after that, there was a brand new position that was created specifically for me. And I was a senior advisor at SFPD, as well as liaison to City Hall, focused on strengthening the relationship in the community citywide in SFPD. That brings me to where I am today. I stand before you as the incoming senior director of the Leo T. McCarthy Center, and this center is near and dear to my heart. This center is doing things that I've been trying to do for several years, and that's motivating students, motivating young people, leading by example, and preparing them for a life in public service. And here we are now with the Leo T. McCarthy Center. In fact, that's exactly what we're doing. We have amazing programs that I will begin to amplify and uplift and capitalize on partnerships citywide, as well as private entities. For example, some of the programs we have undergraduate programs focused on community engaged learning. We have our master's program on urban and public affairs. We have Engage SF. We have USF Votes. We have our fellowship programs at City Hall, State Capitol, and DC. So one of the things I look at doing is capitalizing on, we've been doing a lot of work citywide, but double it down on those efforts and continue to work with community-based organizations like United Players, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, Mo Magic, V Magic, YCD, and the list goes on and on. In addition to that, I'm looking forward to working with the private side as well. So case in point, Warriors, Giants, 49ers, Salesforce, Google, etc. A lot of these organizations care about the work that the center is doing. And I figure there's so many ways that we can come together and work together for the common good. So in the end, this is a very incredible opportunity for me. I stand before you thankful and so fortunate for the opportunity, and really looking forward to taking things to the next level here at the center and at USF, and just providing that positive spotlight on the amazing work that we're doing. So again, thank you all for coming out. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Senior Director Brown. We welcome your enthusiasm, your expertise, and your leadership here at the helm of the McCarthy Center. On behalf of the McCarthy Center staff, I welcome all of you and thank you for joining us today for this meet and greet. I'm Karen Cotterman, and I'm going to guide us through the rest of the program, where we have a number of fantastic speakers that we're happy to host today. I direct Engage San Francisco, the place-based commitment that USF has made to work in and with the Western Addition neighborhood here in San Francisco. As already mentioned by Senior Director Brown, the work of the McCarthy Center is far-reaching. Through the work of my colleagues in the Community Engaged Learning Team, we place students in fellowships and internships at San Francisco City Hall, the State Capitol in Sacramento, and Washington, D.C. Through the USF Votes initiatives, my colleagues and student volunteers have registered close to 6,000 people to vote during this crucial election year. Our community engaged activists work with organizations throughout the city of San Francisco while learning leadership skills for social justice. And through our work via Engage San Francisco, we focus on children, youth, and families in the Western Addition neighborhood adjacent to campus, and work in partnership with community members to address education and health inequities while lifting up African American histories And examples of how we do this across the University of San Francisco include preparing and placing 50 students every year to work in schools and after-school organizations, and they tutor 1,000 children in the Western Addition annually. With the work and leadership of faculty collaborators, we gathered and published the biographies of 98 African-American changemakers in the Changemakers book that Father Paul just referenced to. And that's been distributed to families across San Francisco and is now available online. We support campus community partnerships that result in increased community engaged learning and research with organizations such as the New Community Leaders Foundation, Handful Players, Parents for Public Schools, Collective Impact, Community Grows, Success Centers of San Francisco, and many more. And I welcome community partners to this call. I know you're out there. In partnership with athletics, we welcome over 500 families to campus each year for sporting events at Western Addition Days. And in partnership with faculty, staff, and community leaders and activists, we teach students about how public policy and legislation impact residents in the Fillmore and Western Addition and citywide, including highlighting the ways systemic racism and class oppression are perpetuated, particularly poignant topics at this moment in history. And the list goes on beyond that. We're grateful to faculty and staff across campus who deepen our partnerships and our commitment to building a more just world through addressing systemic inequity. Now I'd like to transition and welcome Interim Vice Provost and Special Assistant to the Provost and Professor of Psychology, a woman of many, many titles, Dr. Pamela Balls-Horganista. Her areas of research include health issues in underserved populations, ethnic minority psychology, community-based research, and preventative interventions. Dr. Balls-Horganista was instrumental in the creation of the McCarthy Center prior to our opening in 2002, and we invite her to say a bit about what attracted USF to Senior Director Brown. Welcome, Dr. Balls-Horganista.
Thank you, Karen, for that introduction. I'm very, very happy to talk about what attracted us to Derick, but before I do so, I just want to give thanks and gratitude to Julie Dowd, what leadership of the search committee that had a phenomenal group of people that came together that represented all different components of the McCarthy Center to select and recommend Derick. And so I just want to reflect on just some of the highlights of what stood out for Derick and how that my acceptance of their recommendation came to pass. As it's been outlined by Father Paul, as well as Derick in sharing his story, surely his wealth of experience was a standout. This includes his longstanding work and relationships within the community. He is from community, and he loves and respects the ideal of community and working within a variety of different types of communities. His additional strengths include his leadership in developing organizations and community-based initiatives. He is so excited about strategizing means to support these efforts and success in fundraising. He also is an advocate for the organizations with whom he has worked. And he had an understanding and passion for the Leo T. McCarthy Center. In fact, I remember him saying, this is a hidden gem that I just want to share the good news about is good work. And his belief that he can and will raise the profile of the McCarthy Center in the city and nationally. On an interpersonal level, Derick is upbeat, he's pleasant, he's hopeful. He's one of those types of people that I say shows up with his full self. He is ready to go. And he has like this willingness and urgency to engage and truly connect with others. From the beginning, just as an example of that, he started to set up one-on-one meetings with each of the staff members in the McCarthy Center. And his attitude, even though we are living in this remote environment, is that I will meet them wherever they want me to meet them at. I will come to them but it's essential that I get to meet each one of these people with whom I'm going to be working as part of my team, and I get to know them. I believe this is because he understands how important it is to know the stories of the people with whom he works. We're in the midst of a crisis right now, and it's vital that we keep moving through it, learning, and growing. We believe that Derick will be an inspiring leader, and he will protect and grow the center. This will be a great uplift for both the university and the community. So I'm happy to welcome Derick today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Balls-Organista. We really appreciate your support at this time and prior to this going back to the creation of the center. So I'm thrilled to welcome our next speaker. I first met Jada Curry when she was interested in becoming a tutor with the Engage San Francisco Literacy Program. Jada Curry is a San Francisco native and a first-generation student who, while pursuing her bachelor's degree in physics, also works as a community organizer, works as an assistant within the physics department, tutors and works as a site leader through the Engage San Francisco initiative at the Booker T. Washington Community Service Center. She also provides oversight to the Children and Youth Fund via the Oversight and Advisory Committee for the Department of Children, Youth, and Their Families. And she works alongside the Fillmore community with the New Community Leadership Foundation. Jada's dream is to inspire the Bay Area community by day, which clearly she does, she inspires me, and continue to stargaze by night. I hope you got to see the Perseid meteor shower last night, Jada. It was cloudy where I was. And clearly, Ms. Jada Curry does not sleep much, but we're glad to have her here at USF and as part of the McCarthy Center family. I invite Ms. Jada Curry to share some of her thoughts on her work with Engage San Francisco and the McCarthy Center and her time with USF. Welcome, Jada.
Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to share this virtual space with you all today as we welcome Senior Director Derick Brown to the McCarthy Center. I was introduced to the McCarthy Center and its work at the Engagement Fair during my very first semester here at USF back in 2017. It was at this fair that I found out about a work-study opportunity to be a literacy tutor. And while the accommodating hours and thought of empowering youth in their literacy development excited me, I can say I was a little more than worried about how I'd manage to even be an effective tutor. I came to the realization that upon entering college, my studies would be more rigorous, of course. So to ensure that I would be putting my time into efforts that truly mattered to me and could even supplement the community, despite that bit of doubt, I still decided to sign up. And I am beyond grateful, to say the least, that I did. Since 2017, I have provided literacy support to students in and out of classrooms at Rosa Parks Elementary. Before leaving Rosa Parks, I was prompted to a site lead position overseeing and assisting the amazing tutors there, providing one-on-one student support and in-classroom support. I then transitioned to Booker T. Washington Community Service Center, a new site added to Engage Literacy's work this past fall semester, where I've been a site lead ever since. It is here at Booker T that I've been able to work alongside staff and a robust team of tutors to provide homework support in all subjects and supplement enrichment activities, all while working on my own personal leadership skills. In addition to my tutoring experience, per the recommendation of the McCarthy Center, I've gotten to work with some amazing associate professors of the School of Education, Helen Maniates and our own David Donahue, as well as John Omega, Director of USF's College Access Programs, as an on-site coordinator for a middle school reading program held here on campus just this past summer. As an on-site coordinator, I assisted in program creation and implementation alongside School of Education teachers and grad students. To keep youth engaged in reading over the summer while exposing them to a college campus setting so they can physically see and be in a potential space waiting for them. Leaving George Washington High School, I knew I wanted to build with my community, and I wanted the place and the people who I build with to be intentional in the work that they do. Washington provided me with the opportunities to serve the community through recommended programs and the curriculum of my Advancing Via Individual Determination program, better known as AVID. Stepping onto USF campus, I wanted to figure out how to continue to integrate my desire to serve into my new educational journey. Stumbling upon the McCarthy Center at that fair back in 2017 was definitely no accident. I was offered a way to actively utilize my work study as a means to support youth development in the Fillmore Western Addition community, one that has built some of this city's amazing leaders like the Honorable Mayor London Breed and Senior Director Brown, as well as some of the amazing people that I get to work with every day, some of who are here on this call now and who I call family. While I was already trying to organize with my community off campus, it meant a lot to me to see an actual center on campus that was doing work in the community as well. I've been able to stay grounded in my own personal values while on campus and hone in on the upliftment and advancement of my community, all while pursuing my degree and supporting amazing initiatives outside of school as well. Being a first-generation high school graduate and college student trying to advance on my own path of higher education in a city that we're fighting to stay in against all odds is of course not easy and hasn't been. I want to ensure that this path gets easier for the youth standing right behind me and that the institutions that they enter will be more equitable and equipped to serve them and allow them to grow while staying true to their own selves and values. This is what drives me every day when I show up at the Booker T Center and in the community. To the McCarthy Center, let's keep working beyond my years at USF, and I look forward to further engagement with community leaders and initiatives. To my fellow students, I hope community engaged learning pushes you to continue all your amazing work beyond your time at USF. To my community, I'm here fighting with you and educating myself to do my part in further advancing our community's knowledge. So utilize the physicists that you helped develop. To the students I've been able to reach, I hope you all remember me when I see you doing all the amazing things that you're destined to do. It is with tremendous gratitude that I thank everyone from the McCarthy Center. I'm appreciative of all the efforts and the continued development to come. From the simple conversations to the relationships built, immense love shown, kind words, recommendations shared, and spaces I've been given to learn and grow. I'm grateful for all of you and the support that you have given to myself and my classmates on our current journeys, and the youth who are about to rise up into their own journeys in their own greatness. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jada. I think that's a vision we can all get behind. You give me hope for the world. I love your energy. You're a spark. In an effort to bridge generations here and say a bit about where we've been and link to where we're going, I'd like to share a little bit about our founding namesake, Leo T. McCarthy, and call forth some of his accomplishments during his career as a means of transition to introducing his son, Neil. As a San Francisco city supervisor, Leo McCarthy authored the ordinance creating the Human Rights Commission to address job discrimination in the city of San Francisco. As a California legislator, he created a labor committee that limited the number of hours that young teens could work, and he raised the minimum wage. While lieutenant governor, he created a task force focused on the feminization of poverty that addressed the impact of divorce and childcare issues on working moms. And as a UC regent, Leo McCarthy developed the policy that led the University of California system to divest their $6 billion pension fund from investments that at that time were invested in apartheid South Africa. These actions and more speak to his legacy and the legacy of the McCarthy Center itself. And I'd like to welcome his son, Neil McCarthy, who is one of 4 children of the lieutenant governor. And as son of an elected official, Neil McCarthy grew up in the world of law, politics, and service for the common good. He's a partner for Burlingame-based Cochette, Petrie & McCarthy, a highly decorated trial attorney, and a noted philanthropist who serves on multiple nonprofit boards. He recently served on USF's search committee that ultimately selected our new director. We invite him here today to share his reflections on his father's vision and our new director's role in carrying out Leo McCarthy's legacy and leading the center. Thank you and welcome, Neil.
Karen, thank you so much for the invitation. It's a great day. This Saturday would have been my father's 90th birthday. And he spent his career using government to try to improve people's lives. He viewed public service as the highest possible calling. Now, unfortunately, in politics and society today, things have become very polarized. which is why the work of the McCarthy Center and the students who come through there are so important to our society and the direction we're going. My dad's vision for the McCarthy Center was to help shape students who were dedicated to ethical public service. And the McCarthy Center has certainly accomplished that. They've done tremendous things. But no organization can thrive without strong leadership. And we're thrilled today because we think we found the right person to bring us to the next level. I enjoyed meeting Derick through the process of the interviews. He has deep roots in San Francisco, which I think is extremely important. And he's demonstrated that wherever he's gone, he's got things accomplished. He's a person that brings a tremendous passion for community service. And when you combine that with his intelligence and his charisma and the exceptional staff that's already in place at the McCarthy Center, we're very confident that Derick's going to bring the McCarthy Center to new heights. You know, in the short time I've known Derick, what I would say is that he exemplifies all the characteristics we try to instill in the McCarthy Center students. And I wish him the best of luck. You know, it's one of those situations where you look at a person's skill set and you look at the needs of a job and you say, boy, that's going to work out really well. So Derick, welcome and best wishes.
Thank you so much, Neil. Now I'd like to invite Jada Curry back. We have some questions posed by students and community that we'd love to pose to Senior Director Brown to engage in a dialogue. So Jada, I'm inviting you back.
I'd first like to say I'm so happy to hear that Senior Director Brown is also a fellow Eagle. So hey for that. Okay, so the first question that I'd like to ask you is, what was it like growing up in the Fillmore Western Addition as a young child?
Thank you, Jada. That's a very interesting question. Give you a perspective, you know, I grew up in the 80s, and growing up in the Western Addition, I look at it two ways. One, it was dangerous, hectic, but at the same time, fun. For example, just, you know, going outside, that was the drug era. So you had, you know, individuals, you know, selling drugs, you had shooting going on, you had fights. You know, there were times where I was in the public housing site, which I grew up, which is Banneker's, and playing out there as a kid, and pop, 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 and you got, you know, guys running through, you know, shooting at each other. You have kids ducking, you have, you know, parents screaming, and I mean, it was a hectic environment. In addition to that, when I became a teenager, it pretty much seemed like every week or every other week I was going to a funeral. As I mentioned before, a lot of my friends weren't lucky enough to graduate high school. And, you know, a lot of them began to lose their life, you know, due to senseless violence, fighting, drugs, shooting, things of that nature. So in that regard, it was tough. However, it was home. It was a place that, you know, I love to be. You know, I love to play with my friends, and, you know, whether it was, you know, going to Hamilton Rec or Ella Hill Hutch or Boys and Girls Club, you know, that's, you know, where I went. You know, we played baseball, basketball, football. I learned how to swim, you know, at an early age at the Boys and Girls Club of San Francisco. You know, I was able to go to camp for the very first time up north due to the Guardsmen campership and attend Camp Mendocino. So I have a lot of fond memories of growing up. Like I say, it's kind of two ways where it was scary, but at the same time, I mean, like I said, it was home. And for me, it's home base for me. I'm entrenched in the community. I care about the community. I care about providing resources, and I care about what's doing right. And for me, like I say, I wouldn't change the way I grew up for anything in the world. I absolutely appreciate everything that I've been through because it shaped who I am today. And today, you know, I take this with me, you know, any and everywhere I go, and it's truly a badge of honor. Thank you. Great question, Jada.
Okay, so my next question is, what was the pivotal moment in your life that led you on a path to public service?
That's a good one. Okay, I like that one. Let me think about this. There's so many different memories, but let me think. Okay, so for me, when I first started off my career, when I finished up high school and I started working for the Boys and Girls Club of San Francisco, I began to run programs for youth. And, the Boys and Girls Club was always near and dear to my heart. So I figured, let me work there and work with the youth. So after several years of working there, I remember I'm always creating some programs and thinking outside the box. So I created this college prep program where I invited students from college to come and talk to our students at the Boys and Girls Club. And I tried to encourage the teenagers that I was working with that they need to go to school. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember it was a whole crew, Kareem, Sherelle, Donovan, all of them. And I tried to encourage them to go to school, and they looked at me and said, D, wait a minute. Why should I go if you never been? And that just blew my mind. And, the truth hurts. And sometimes youth, they're just honest. So I said, know what? I said, I'm just going to take a day off of work and go to City College and just give school a try. And it's interesting because I continue to do the work that I was doing at the Boys and Girls Club, but then I was also going to school full time. And, I would get my report card and, run to the Boys and Girls Club and, show the youth at the Boys and Girls Club, my report card. They'd bring me their report cards, and then we'll have competitions to see, who can get the highest GPA, which, this guy, will win every time. But it was amazing because I was leading by example, and I wasn't just talking about it, I was being about it. And, I was working in the community, we're providing services to the community. I'm tutoring, I'm mentoring, but I'm also attending school. And for me, it was pivotal because, as I said, I did really well at City College and transferred to Cal, and I continue with the service work, whether it was Boys and Girls Club or Juvenile Probation Department or Mayor's Office. It was all about the community, all about building those relationships. In addition to that, even, SFPD, it's all about community and it's all about those relationships. And I think one of the important things was I've been able to draw down on all of my many experiences and continue to capitalize on that. But for me, it was, like I say, that moment in time when the youth called me out changed my life for the best. And then I knew this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to be involved in public service. I want to be able to lead by example. I really want to train the next leaders of the world to do some amazing work. So that's the pivotal moment for me.
I love that. And yes, indeed, the youth do have a way of calling you out, especially when you least expect it.
Right.
Okay. My next question is, what political figure do you admire and why?
Oh, that's another good one. Okay. I'll say, there's two. Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi and Mayor London Breed. And I'll tell you why. So early on in my career, when I was at City College, one of my mentors, Dr. Mark Robinson, encouraged me to run for the Board of Trustees, to become a student trustee. At that time, I didn't know anything about politics or how to run on a board, anything like that. So he taught me how to run. So I ran, and lo and behold, I won by a landslide. And during my first couple of weeks as student trustee, I had the opportunity to meet, this was before the speaker became the speaker, this before when she was, Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi, and we just hit it off. She heard about, the great work that I was doing. I've only read about her, but I was amazed by, you know, just the tough attitude she has. She does amazing work, and, you know, she's always there for the people. She's definitely down for San Francisco. And I just continue to see the work she was doing. But she looked over at me and she said, Dan Burnell, district director, she laid Dan was like, Dan, we need him. We need him to come intern with us. I love what he's doing. I see he has a bright future. And ever since then, you know, a few weeks later, I became an intern. And once you're part of Team Pelosi, you're always a part of Team Pelosi. So I was a lifelong intern, and began to do some amazing work with her and the team. And, you know, she pulled me under her wing and began to just show me the ropes. So I think with Speaker Pelosi, like I said, she's near and dear to my heart. And thinking about her and looking back when, you know, she saw something in me, this was maybe about, I want to say 15 years ago or so, when I really didn't even see it, but she saw something in me and invested time in me. And here we are now. You know, I'm leading an amazing organization, doing some amazing work for the community. Secondly, Mayor Breed. So Mayor Breed and I, we grew up together in the Western Addition, both grew up in public housing. I grew up in Banneker. She grew up a couple blocks away at Plaza East. And for years, I watched her navigate as she began to get in politics. But even before that, she was focused on community, working at, you know, amazing programs like the African American Culture Center, you know, really community building. And at the time I was at the Boys and Girls Club, you know, we figured out ways to work together and just kind of just watch her develop and transition into City Hall. And as I began to transition to City Hall, you know, I began to connect with her and get that guidance and just watch her do some amazing work. And now here we are now. She's doing extraordinary as mayor of San Francisco. And for me and anyone that grew up in the city, especially in Western Addition, that brings us joy. I mean, we are super excited to watch her grow and do some amazing work. And more importantly, she's leading by example. And that's something that's near and dear to my heart. And that's something that I've been doing my whole life and something that I love to do. You have to lead by example. And she does that remarkable. So those my two go-tos. So Speaker Pelosi and Mayor London Breed.
Love it. Strong, phenomenal woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so my final question is, what advice do you have for USF students?
Okay, that's a good one. So, okay, I'll go with three. And I'll break them down. One of them is be yourself. 2, network or not work. And the third one is keep contacts current. So when it comes down to being yourself, no one can beat you at being yourself. Be yourself because everyone else is already taken. So be comfortable with who you are, understand your values, understand you know, the company that you keep. But if you see something that's not right, stand up. Stand up for what is right. Appreciate, you know, the background that you have had. Appreciate any connections with your students, but most importantly, just be yourself and go with your gut. So that's one. The second one, like I touched on, is network or not work. And when I say that, explore. You're going to be a student here at USF. You're going to meet people, explore, meet people on campus, meet people outside of campus, try to connect with potential mentors. You have to network. And when you see individuals doing some work that you want to do, take heed to that. You know, connect with them, chat with them, and expand your network. So, and not only that, years down the road, those same individuals may be people, you know, hiring for a job or looking for someone to tackle a project. And since you have them in your network, more often than not, that will definitely lead to success. So network or not work. And I think the third one is keep contacts current. And what I mean by that is, say for instance, if you have an internship or you connect with someone, don't just fall off the map. Make sure you follow up. You follow up with an email or a call, or whether it's once a month or every other week or once every few months, but also keep individuals up to date with your progression. I know, like with myself, I love hearing about what's going on with students and young people that I'm mentoring. And, I just grab my popcorn and I'm just listening in because it's exciting. And it's exciting because they're staying connected with me, I'm staying connected with them, and it's a fruitful interaction. So I think for all the students out there, you definitely have to keep your contacts current. So again, 3, be yourself, network or not work, and keep contacts current.
Thank you. I'll also be sure to utilize that in my final years here.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jada Curry and Senior Director Brown. We welcome your leadership at this moment in history. And Jada, thank you so much for facilitating that conversation, the Q&A. I'd like to take a minute and say thanks to John Bancevich and Leslie Lombre, who are behind the scenes making this happen. Thank you, Father Fitzgerald, for joining us today for the welcome on behalf of the university. Thank you, Dr. Balls-Organista, for your words and insight. And thank you, Mr. Neil McCarthy, on behalf of the McCarthy family, for bringing home the connection to the Leo McCarthy's legacy. On behalf of all of my colleagues here at the McCarthy Center, thank you for joining us. And thank you for supporting the Leo T. McCarthy Center for Public Service and the Common Good, and welcoming Senior Director Brown. I encourage you to follow us via our website and our social media. And this recording is going to be shared. It will be available after the event. And may we all continue to work toward realizing a more just and equitable world while cultivating ethical leadership in support of the common good. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.